10 new Ebola community care centers are due to open this week in Sierra Leone's Bombali district as part of a new drive to bring Ebola care closer to communities. Built by UNICEF, the tented centers will boost the number of beds in Bombali, one of the districts worst hit by the current Ebola outbreak, which has killed more than 1,000 people in Sierra Leone since May. UNICEF is planning to build around 30 more centers in neighboring districts in the coming weeks. The World Health Organization warns that progress towards eliminating measles has stalled and that the 2015 targets will not be met. The number of deaths from measles increased from an estimated 122,000 in 2012 to 145,700 in 2013. The increase in the disease is in large part due to outbreaks in China, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and Nigeria. However, sizable outbreaks were also reported in other parts of the world, including the Eastern Mediterranean region in countries such as Georgia, Turkey, and Ukraine, where weak health systems and conflict and population displacement have hampered vaccination efforts. The World Health Organization says that renewed high-level political commitment is needed to reverse this trend. More information is available on the WHO website. As the world copes with influenza, Ebola, and other infectious diseases, the Secretary General says that World Diabetes Day reminds us that non-communicable diseases pose an even greater threat to human health. Affecting more than 350 million people in the world, diabetes is often misunderstood as a disease associated with affluent lifestyles when it is a growing problem in developing countries. Fortunately, the Secretary General says, there are many cost-effective and feasible ways to address diabetes and other non-communicable diseases. This year's World Diabetes Day focuses on healthy eating as an important component of both preventing and treating diabetes. The Secretary General's full message is available on our website. And that's it from me. Do you have any questions for me before we get to our guests? Yes.
Sure. Thanks a lot. I want to ask you about Central African Republic, but since you read this press release about the World Health Organization, I wanted to ask for your comment on this. It's been reported that the World Health Organization basically decided to ban a particular reporter, Gina Moore, or BuzzFeed, for which she worked. And this is in an email that they sent saying that she's banned because of, quote, inaccurate reporting. And I wanted to know, many people have said she's a pretty prominent reporter on Ebola. What's the UN system's position on, one, banning individual reporters based on not liking their reports, and two, what sense does this make during the Ebola crisis to try to give out less rather than more information?
I am aware of the media report. However, I'm not aware that these reports are correct. I suggest you check with the World Health Organization whether there's anything to this.
They have confirmed. They have said that they believe that it was legitimate to ban this reporter because they claim that one of their officials was misquoted. And I wanted to know from you, assuming that's true, which I don't know if that's true, but I do know that they've banned her. Is it the UN system's position that individual reporters can be banned from being provided information based on a report that the UN doesn't like?
Well, I'll leave it to the World Health Organization to comment on the World Health Organization. Certainly, we don't do that for misquotes around here. Otherwise, a lot of you would be gone for this
What about an undersecretary? What about an undersecretary general saying, "I won't answer particular media's questions"? Is there a difference there? What's the difference?
What I can tell you is at the United Nations, we invite all reporters. If we see incorrect reports, we try to correct them. That's our policy. You'd have to ask my counterparts in the World Health Organization's communications department what their policy is.
But is there a UN system-wide policy? No.
I've told you what our policy is.
Right.
Yes. No? Okay. Oh, never mind. I thought I saw your hand. Okay.
Thank you, Farhan. I wanted to ask about the situation with Armenia and Azerbaijan. My colleague Matthew first raised this issue, and you got back to us with a comment for which I am grateful to you both. But there have been some aggravated developments in the whole situation. You know that Azerbaijani forces hit Armenian helicopter, which was just training there, and there were 3 pilots, young men, in that helicopter. And we have no idea what happened to these guys because up to now, Azerbaijani side does not let the Armenian rescue mission to get to the site of the crash of the helicopter that they hit to help these people, you know, to provide medical help or support. Do you think this is normal because they continue to keep the fire so the rescue mission could not even approach that site? And can UN make an official statement about this and maybe help to not to aggravate the situation even more, you know?
Yes. Well, what I have to say on this is simply, as I had also expressed yesterday, the Secretary General shares the very serious concerns expressed by the co-chairs of the OSCE Minsk Group and other international partners regarding the ceasefire breach on the 12th of November along the line of contact, including the shooting down of a military helicopter and resulting casualties among the crew members. He reiterates his previous call on all parties to fully respect and adhere to the ceasefire agreement. The Secretary General also urges all sides to refrain from any actions likely to lead to further escalation of the situation on the ground and to fulfill their repeated commitments to find a peaceful resolution to the conflict. The Secretary General reiterates his full support for the efforts of the OSCE Minsk Group and the three co-chairs to assist the parties pursuing a peaceful settlement of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict.
Just a little follow-up, if you let me.
Yeah.
Of course, we're talking about all parties, but Azerbaijani military officer murders Armenian officer during NATO peaceful trainings in his sleep with an axe. Not only he walks free, he becomes a national hero. Azerbaijani snipers on a regular basis murder Armenian soldiers on the border during armistice. This is normal. Azerbaijani military kidnap Armenian innocent villagers, torture them to death. I think, why can't we call a spade a spade? We're not dealing with parties here. We're dealing with clear aggressor and victims, innocent victims. So why can't we call aggressor an aggressor like Azerbaijan and call for their full responsibility, especially since we know that these countries are in peace talks, and every time such things happen, it's a provocation for an answer and prolonged war.
Yes. Thanks. I'm aware of your opinion, and I've registered that. At the same time, I've said what I've had to say on this, and this is a call to all parties. We do want all parties to respect and adhere to the ceasefire, and that is where we're focusing our efforts on at this point. Oleg?
Thank you, Farhan. On the MH17 crash, there are some photos circulated in the Russian media. Russian TV showed some satellite photos, supposedly that the plane has been shot in the air by another military plane. I know that the Russians have already approached the UN Secretary General with providing some information about the crash. Did they give you this photo? Are you aware of this information? What's your position to this?
I'd need to check whether the photo was something that's been provided to the Secretary General. So I'll check with the delegation. As you know, he's traveling in Australia right now, but we'll see. Of course, we continue to call for unfettered access to the site so that the investigation can proceed unhindered, and we've been doing that for some months now, and we continue with that. Yes.
Great, thanks a lot. I want to ask you about Bangui, Western Sahara, and something said in the 6th Committee. In Central African Republic, there are these reports that the Seleka rebels were slated to be moved out of the capital by IOM, and somehow this deal fell apart, and that they've erected roadblocks and exchanged fire with peacekeepers. Is that the case, and what's the mission's readout on the situation, and what are they doing to resolve it?
What I can say on that is that the UN mission in the Central African Republic, MINUSCA, says that it's extremely concerned by the deteriorating security situation in Bangui. The mission stresses the need for an inclusive dialogue to resolve the crisis in the country, and it calls on all actors to engage in such a dialogue and work towards the reestablishment of order and security in the Central African Republic. And you had a question on Western Sahara?
Yeah, I did. I wanted to. It's sort of a two-pronged question. One has to do with whether what Stefan said earlier in the week about Kim Baldock, the new SRSG. I wanted to just kind of confirm it. In reading it, does that mean that she's never been allowed in? And if so, where has she been since August? Is she being what's the plan to resolve that? And I also wanted to ask you about regarding the cables that I based the initial question on. Can you confirm that OIOS is conducting an investigation at the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights on at least 2 staff members who apparently leaked this information to the Moroccan government?
On that, I cannot confirm that. As you know, the OIOS conducts its work independently. At some point, once they've completed their work, they apprise us of it, but I wouldn't be aware of any work that's ongoing. Beyond that, regarding Kim Baldock, as you know, both Christopher Ross and Kim Baldock briefed the Security Council on the 27th of October. And at that point, the Security Council reiterated its desire, first of all, to see Ambassador Ross's facilitation resume, and reiterated its desire to see Kim Baldock be able to take up her duties at the helm of MINURSO as soon as possible. And we look forward to the resumption of Mr. Ross's visit to the region and also to the deployment of Kim Baldock.
But is she current? I mean, she is the SRSG. She's just not in the country.
She is the SRSG, but she has not been able to function in with her MINURSA duties in country.
Okay, great. And just this, you may have been asked this in previous years, even. It seems like, but today in the Sixth Committee and they were on the report on the host country committee. At least two delegations, one in particular, Cuba, said that they believe that it violates the host country agreement, that not only their diplomats but staff members of Cuban nationality are restricted in their movements to within 25 miles of Columbus Circle, i.e. this restriction that's on. I knew it was on diplomats, but I wanted to know is whether the Secretary General has whether this is the policy. Are you aware of UN staff members not allowed to go beyond that distance? And what is the Secretary General's position on essentially a restriction on movement, such as is protested in other countries, restrictions on UN staff?
Well, these are issues that are taken up in the host country committee, and so we, of course, have our own representation on that committee. We have a person seated on that. But so we try to make our views known, but ultimately it's up to the host country committee to decide on that.
Right, but if you complain in other countries about staff not being able to go,
you've had three in a row. Let's spread it around. Yes.
Yes.
You, Matthew.
Hi, Farhan. You said that there's going to be reduced in the rations with people in Somalia and South Sudan, and the amount of food rations they're going to be receiving. Do you know what exactly the number of calorie intake they'll be receiving and how close it is to the minimum amount of calories someone needs for on a daily basis?
I don't. I do know that it's of course severe if you cut your food ration by half. This is normally you get more than you need for basic survival, but if you cut it by half, then that puts you very dangerously below that or around that level. But we need to get the precise calorie count from our World Food Program colleagues. Yes, Iftikhar.
Thank you, Farhan. Any comments or thoughts on the reports that Obama administration is now focusing on the ouster of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad?
I wouldn't have any comment on that. You know what our efforts are focused on. We continue to focus on the need for a political transition and for a negotiated solution involving the government of Syria and the opposition. To that extent, Staffan de Mistura has been visiting Syria, where he was in Damascus just a week ago, and other countries in the region, and he'll continue with his diplomatic efforts. Yes, Edie.
Farhan, can you confirm that Pope Francis is likely to come to the United Nations next year? He's writing a serious document on climate change and the impact.
I cannot confirm it at this stage. I think it ultimately would be for the Holy See to give the confirmation rather than us. What I can say is that we are aware of the media reports that he intends to visit around the time of the next General Assembly plenary. Of course, we would welcome a visit from him whenever is possible, and we look forward to hearing more details as they emerge. Yes.
Thank you, Farhan. I wanted to ask about Boko Haram. It's been reported that Boko Haram militants have captured the Nigerian town of Chibok, the very town from which they kidnapped 200 and more girls. Is UN going to react somehow, maybe with peacekeepers or militarily or strategically to recapture it and to seize this, Islamic threat from spreading?
Well, I don't think we can be under any illusion that we can react with peacekeepers. We have no peacekeeping mandate in Nigeria. We have been working on the ground, including with affected families and with the government, to see what we can do to resolve the situation of the kidnapped girls. And we will continue with those efforts. If this news is correct, that the town of Chibok has fallen, that, of course, would be another serious source of concern. But we've been expressing our concerns repeatedly about the continued activity by Boko Haram. And as you know, we've weighed in against the need to make sure that this group cannot terrorize people in so much of Nigeria. And with that, let me get Mr. Ging and Afshan Khan and Mabinge Ngom. Hold on just one moment, please.